Every NHL team at the very least have played 10 games thus far, with some teams even having played 14 games, so we have a pretty decent sample size to work with now. And although it's still early and things are definitely going to change throughout the season, I want to talk about 3 teams that have been surprising in a good way to me so far this season, and then also 3 teams that have been disappointing. Now of course these are all just my opinions, and it's relative to the expectations that I had for these teams heading into the season. For an example, if you're somebody who predicted the Panthers to miss the playoffs, I don't know why you would, but I'm sure there were some people that did, then obviously you would be pretty surprised by their performance so far this season, so just keep that in mind. I will also leave some honorable mentions down below in the comments in a pinned comment, so you guys can go ahead and take a look at those as well. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and start things off on a positive note with one of the teams that have been really surprising to me so far. The Columbus Blue Jackets currently have a record of 7-3-0, 14 points, only 5th in the Metro, but they've only played 10 games. And the Metro division is unbelievable. Still, every team in that division has a record above 500. Heading into the season, I actually predicted the Columbus Blue Jackets to finish last place in this division, but I will give myself some credit because in that predictions video, I did say I didn't think Columbus was going to be bad and that they would still be probably better than some people expected. I didn't expect them to be this good though. I know it probably won't maintain throughout the entire season, but they've got off to a great start. Rookies like Igor Chinnikov, Cole Sillinger especially have came in and had really big impacts on the team. Those two are a lot of fun to watch, and the biggest reason as to why they're currently 7-3 is Elvis Merzlikins. He is 5-1 with a 940 save percentage, playing unbelievable. If he keeps this up for the entirety of the season, I mean, he's going to be in the Vezina conversation, and pretty much every single one of Elvis's wins thus far have been impressive wins. Columbus is a team that gives up the most shots against per game on average so far this season, which is something I'm sure they want to clean up on, but I mean, it hasn't really hurt them thus far because Elvis has been so good. Moving on now to one of the 3 disappointing teams. First up, we have the Montreal Canadiens, who currently have a record of 3-10-1 for 7 points. They're 8th, last place in the Atlantic Division. Now, this is a team that I predicted to miss the playoffs heading into the season. I had them finishing 5th in the Atlantic, but I thought they were going to be in the race for the entire season. I thought they were going to be a competitive team and maybe just miss out on a wild card spot by 5 or 6 points or something like that. I certainly did not expect this team to be a bottom feeder and have some of the highest odds at Shane Wright, but that's kind of the way things are heading. They've really struggled to score and get offense so far this season. That's kind of been their Achilles heel. Obviously, the expectation was that Cole Caulfield would be this dynamic goal scorer for the Canadiens this season. That definitely hasn't worked out thus far. He got off to a really shaky start and is now down in the AHL. Both of their special teams have sucked so far. Jake Allen's play has been mediocre. I definitely wouldn't put the blame on him for how they've started the season, but he isn't really doing them any favors either. This team misses Carey Price. This team misses Shea Weber. Just not a lot of things have gone right for the Montreal Canadiens so far this season. And again, it is still very early and they could turn things around, but they're digging themselves quite the hole that may be just too hard to get out of. Moving on now to another surprising team, the Detroit Red Wings, currently with a record of 7-5-2, 16 points, 2nd place in the Atlantic Division as of the time I'm recording this. Are they going to make the playoffs? I definitely still do not think they will, but as a Red Wings fan who has went through a lot of pain over the past couple of seasons, I'm going to enjoy this for as long as it lasts. If you look on the screen, a lot of their stats don't look great. Their special teams are both in the bottom half of the league. They only shoot an average of 29.6 shots per game, which is 26th in the league. They allow the 2nd most shots against per game. They're just finding ways to win. Thomas Greiss has been really solid, with the exception of the first game against Tampa Bay where he allowed 7 goals. Nedeljkovic has settled in really well, and their top line has continued to come up big night in and night out. Bertuzzi, Larkin, and Raymond has been one of the best lines in the NHL so far. Moritz Seider has been just a revelation for this team. He is their best defenseman already, and it's probably not even particularly close. I actually said this in a couple of videos last year. I feel like if he played on the team last year, he would have been their best defenseman too. It's just been really fun to watch. There's a different feel to this Red Wings team, and I think the biggest reason why is because of guys like Lucas Raymond and like Moritz Seider and how big of an impact they're having already. As a fan, it's a lot more fun to watch players that are likely going to be a part of your team for a very long time than it is watching players like Valtteri Filppula, Frans Nielsen, Luke Glendening, Darren Helm, which we were stuck watching for the past couple seasons. Moving back over now to another one of the disappointing teams, the Colorado Avalanche. The Stanley Cup favorites heading into the season have gotten off to a real rocky start, just 4-5-1, 9 points, 6th place in the Central Division. Now granted, probably the biggest reason why they are struggling early on in the season is because man have they ever ever been bitten by the injury bug. McKinnon has missed games, Landeskog has missed games, Rantanen has missed games, Samuel Girard has missed games, Cale Makar, Devin Taves has only played once. I basically just named off all of Colorado's best players, and they've all missed time already just 10 games into the season, so obviously they're going to struggle a little bit. But on the other hand, when those guys have been in the lineup, like for an example, McKinnon hasn't looked like one of the absolute best players on the planet. Although he does have 10 points in 8 games, he's always going to put up the numbers, but he hasn't been dominant. And Cale Makar, especially in the games he's played, he hasn't really done great. Obviously those guys are going to be fine, they're too good not to be, but I'm sure if you ask them right now, they would both say that they can play better. Darcy Kemper also, who was the Philip Grubauer replacement, has just been mediocre. I don't think he's been bad, but he hasn't been great, and they don't really have any other goaltender to play right now other than Darcy Kemper, so he has a pretty big workload. Jonas Johansson has gotten lit up in the 2 games he's appeared in this season. They need Pavel Francouz back just to take a little bit of pressure off of Darcy Kemper. Overall, I think we can all agree that Colorado is probably going to be fine. I actually believe they're still the odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup, which is pretty hilarious. That should tell you right there that they're most likely going to turn things around. But based off of the sample size that we have, to me they've been one of the more disappointing teams in the league based off of the expectations that I and pretty much everybody had for them heading into the season. Moving on now to the final surprising team we're going to talk about in today's video, the San Jose Sharks, who currently have a record of 7-4-1, 15 points, 4th in the Pacific Division. All of the California teams really have been surprising thus far. You'll see the other 2 down in the honorable mentions in the pinned comment, but I decided to talk about the Sharks in this video over the Kings and the Ducks because I actually predicted the Sharks to finish last place in the Pacific Division. I didn't think they were going to be very good whatsoever. Now, I'm still not all that confident that they're even going to make the playoffs, but I will say they've proved me wrong based off of the sample size we have. The line of Jonathan Dahlin, Timo Meier, and Logan Couture has been fantastic. Sharks fans have to love what they're seeing from rookie Jonathan Dahlin. It took a little while for him to finally break into the league, but now that he's here, he's playing very well. It seems like Timo Meier is finally ready to take another step and really blossom into a star power forward winger. And the main thing that is different about this Sharks team than the past couple of seasons is they're finally getting good goaltending. James Reimer has been unreal. He's got a .946 save percentage. Adin Hill has looked pretty solid in the 7 games he's appeared in thus far. Even if and when James Reimer regresses to the mean and maybe finishes around a .908 save percentage or something like that, that's still a massive upgrade from Martin Jones and Devin Dubnyk, which is what they were stuck with last season. That tandem was horrific. It's a lot easier to win games when your goaltenders are stopping pucks, and the Sharks goaltenders are doing a pretty good job at that so far. Moving on now to the final team we're going to talk about in today's video, another disappointing team here, the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm not going to spend too much time on them because I actually made an entire video on the Blackhawks like around 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, and well, not a whole lot has changed since then. They have finally gotten their first couple of wins. They're 3-9-2, 7th in the Central. The only reason they're not last place in their division is because, well, they have Arizona in their division. Just not a whole lot of things have been going right for the Blackhawks this year. Their defense has been pretty bad. Their goaltending, especially earlier in the season, was horrific. Fleury is now starting to turn it around a little bit. He's got a couple of good starts in a row. We'll see if the Hawks can start to dig themselves out of this hole a little bit and maybe get back in the playoff race in the Central, but they still have a lot of work to do. So that is going to wrap up today's video. Those were, in my opinion, 3 surprising teams so far this season and 3 disappointing teams. If there's anybody that you think I missed or any teams that have been really surprising or disappointing to you that I did not talk about in today's video, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy today's video, while you're down there, you might as well leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. And of course, if this is your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.